I'm Roy Potter, a former U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. Welcome to the Potter Expositor. Hi ladies and gentlemen, today is June 22nd, 2017. And isn't it interesting that over the last 10 to 15 years, actually before that, but certainly since all of the things that happened on 9/11 and the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, etc., the DHS under Napolitano and currently Jay Johnson and others, the Department of Justice, the FBI, even the DOD, along with groups such as the Southern Poverty Law Center, have been saying that who were the most likely domestic extremist terrorists? Christians, conservatives, gun owners, Second Amendment advocates, vets, etc. It got so bad that even in the MIAC report, if you'll recall, followers of Ron Paul were considered domestic extremists, terrorists. Police departments, even the DOD, were teaching their people that our founding fathers who fought tyranny were actually terrorists. In our schools, we no longer have our children learning about the principles of our government and what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to operate, and the principles of liberty, freedom, and the right to be left alone by government. That's not taught anymore. As a matter of fact, they learn about Islam, and they learn about China, etc., etc. Isn't it interesting that now, finally, the people in all of those places are admitting, hey, we've got a problem with some leftist extremism here. Ladies and gentlemen who work for all those organizations, that was always the problem. The conservatives, the Christians, the gun owners were constitutional, and they were standing up for those principles of liberty. And you denigrated them. You went along with it. If you didn't speak up and say something about it in these meetings, well, I can understand, not wanting to make a scene. But if you bought into that and you started going after people, the BLM in Oregon and in Nevada and in Texas, etc., armies going after American citizens just trying to stand up for their rights. You've made enemies of the good people of this country, and you've shaken hands with those who would take away your right to free speech, your right to own a gun, your right to be left alone by government, etc., etc. It's all because our leaders were so corrupt. And I'm not saying things are horribly better, isn't that an interesting term, horribly better at this point, but at least the people have chosen a symbol of liberty and of wanting to do the right thing under the perfect law of liberty of God. They at least have a symbol. Whether Trump is going to follow through, that remains to be seen. We all hope so. And it's still only 6 months into his presidency, but, as I've said all along, things aren't matching up. The rhetoric isn't matching up to what's going on the ground. Not when people like Hillary are running free after all that they've done. We're going after the little people who stand up for their rights, for their land rights, etc. But the people that were causing this are not investigated. Clinton with the Clinton Foundation and the uranium deal with Russia. As a matter of fact, now we find out, pardon me for a minute, I'm going to reach down here so I can get this, from Zero Hedge, the link is down below, Hillary had Mueller take uranium to the Russians. We now have that information. You know what? It's like I said in one of my videos, and we're going to talk about it here again. The Justice Department and the FBI investigating these things, while they were investigating, they took the information that might cause Hillary and Harry Reid a problem and others and hid it. Maybe the agents down doing the investigation didn't do that, but certainly the people up the line did. And we're going to talk about that again in a minute. So the point is, everything is turning around now, and I hope that I remember seeing a sheriff saying, you know, gun owners, you know, they're stockpiling ammunition, you know, they're constitutionalists, and returning vets, you know, they've learned things that will defeat law enforcement techniques. And I'm calling on you that you're full of shit. Okay? Those are your allies, you dumb idiots. And now you're going to see it. Why is it that the police didn't uphold their oath of office, their public trust to protect the innocent at the Berkeley riots? Because a mayor told them not to? Because Napolitano at Berkeley told them not to? Really? And you think that you're right by doing that? And every police officer who denies that oath of office to protect the innocent because you're ordered to do so, to stand down, and yet you're going to arrest people, you're going to cause people problems, you're going to surveil people who are standing up for their constitutional rights? Shame on you. Shame on you. And now you're reaping the rewards, because these leftists are going to come for you. And who's going to stand behind you? All you people in law enforcement and the military. Who's going to stand behind you? The conservatives, the gun owners, the Christians. And you've tried to make them enemies because you listened to disinformation from the top, from the rotten head at the top. True Pundit, this is what I'm getting to. Came out, the article is in the description box below. There are several links down there you can go see. Talked about an FBI agent, there were several of them, who were doing these investigations surrounding Hillary Clinton. And then they realized that the information, the intelligence, the probable cause, all of the evidence that they were finding was being used by the people up the chain. Comey, McCabe, whomever, Obama, Lynch, to get that information and then to bury it. To be aware of it so that they knew how to protect Clinton and Harry Reid and all of these people from getting found out. Talk about obstruction of justice. Read the article below. And that's happening across the board. It happened at the Boston bombing. And I recognize that right off the bat when the FBI got out there and said, you know, when they saw the Zarnov brothers come through the camera there, public, help us figure out who these guys are, when they knew. Do you see how that works? Do you see how that works? There's a lot more to that Boston bombing thing, and you can go back and look at my series on it if you'd like. Okay, I also want to talk real quick about Congressman Chafetz from Utah. Now, he had an interview with Cheryl Atkinson, okay? Again, the link is in the description box below. And he's concerned about some things. He's leaving the Congress. And why? He's saying because he sees that there's no way to change things, that the corruption is too deep. He's concerned that the Trump administration is really just a clone of the Obama administration, which was a clone and a step beyond, of course, the Bush administration, etc., etc. He talks about trying to get information from the DOJ with Sessions there, and he still can't get it. He talks about trying to get information from the State Department with Tillerson there, and he still can't get it. Now, granted, there are people down below who are trying to put stops on all that, but you're going to tell me that the Attorney General and the Secretary of State can't force that? Why aren't those people being fired? Why isn't that information being gathered? Maybe it is, and maybe Chafetz was trying to run a little bit too fast, but the point is that he's disgusted with the system. Now, I did have a person on Twitter, very intelligent, tweet me and say, well, you got to remember, you know, he helped to cover up Extortion 17 and he's mad about that. Well, you know what? I think that proves another point. We all know, if we think about it, that the Extortion 17 shoot down was done deliberately to get rid of the SEAL Team 6 members that knew that they didn't in fact go after Obama. Obama, well, that's a Freudian slip. Osama bin Laden, that they didn't kill him. That in fact the real Osama bin Laden died many years ago from other diseases, which you can find out from Steve Pachinik and some other areas as well. The point is that Chafetz was involved in helping to cover that up. What happened there? And this is happening throughout our government. You compromise on something like that for whatever reason, whatever pretense, to try to save your own skin or to try to go along with the company men, and now you become blackmailable. You are compromised. You now are in a situation where you're not standing up for truth, and if you do, you're going to be slammed for it, or maybe your family threatened, or whatever. So he made his mistake a long time ago with that. You violate, you compromise your principles, and you become blackmailable, you become manipulated. Another incident that happened a few years ago, remember Waco? Well, there were calls for a review of what happened at Waco. And what did Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah say? Interesting, it's from Utah again, isn't it? He said, it is not politically expedient to investigate Waco. It's not politically expedient. Never mind the crimes that were committed at Waco. Never mind the crimes that were committed at Bundy Ranch in Nevada. No matter the crimes committed in Oregon or the Red River in Texas. The overreach of the federal government for and in behalf of elitist individuals to make money and to get power, not for the constitutional principles of protecting the people. So there we have it. Now the leftists, everybody's recognizing that this is where the next civil war is going to start, not in the Constitutionalists, who will merely be there to protect themselves and probably save the skin of some police officer who was out there harassing a Constitutionalist for having a copy of the Constitution in his car. Oh, how things turn around. I hope everyone who has been involved in this debacle is now being able to look at it in the true light of what it is. I don't know that we'll be able to save this. The rotten head at the top has allowed the body to deteriorate so badly, I don't know if it can be saved. But if it's going to be saved, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be from the likes of Bernie Sanders, who is now calling for any means at all to cause dissension in the streets. Loretta Lynch had said that blood will have to flow in the streets. Or any of these other Democrats or leftists or Marxists, then they're really all the same, aren't they? Law enforcement, military, you better finally figure out who your true friends and allies are, because those leftists are going to come for you first. And who's going to be there to protect you? None of these conservatives are going to be out there. They'll protect their own interests, like the Bundys did in Nevada. But they have no interest in coming and causing you any harm. In fact, it was the government that set up things in Nevada to try to cause harm. And I did some videos about that. Well, time's up. I just wanted to get that out today and get everybody thinking about what's going on. Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer, of course, has said we're looking at a bloody civil war. Anybody who understands military, psychological operations, subversion, espionage, insurgency, etc., can see this happening. And people like Hillary Clinton, of course, Soros, the CIA, all of these people are responsible for that. Okay. Enough for now. Out here.